The Taiwan Strait, 02:14 hours local time. The South China Sea is black and restless, a low-pressure system pushing 2-meter swells from the southwest. The kind of sea state that makes small ships miserable and large ones merely uncomfortable. In the narrow 100 to 10-mile channel between mainland China and the island of Taiwan, a body of water that has been the axis of more geopolitical tension than any other stretch of ocean on the planet, something unprecedented is happening. The People's Liberation Army Navy has moved. The CNS Fujian CV-18, China's most advanced aircraft carrier, a conventionally powered supercarrier, displacing approximately 80,000 tons at combat load and carrying an estimated 60 J, 15B, and J-35 carrier-based fighters, has sortied from the Fujian Naval Base, accompanied by 2 Type 055 Renhai-class cruisers, 3 Type 05 2D Luoyang 3-class destroyers, 2 Type 09 3B nuclear attack submarines running submerged, and a constellation of Type 054A frigates and replenishment vessels. It is the largest planned carrier battle group ever assembled. It is moved to block the center line of the Taiwan Strait. At 02:14 hours, the Chinese group commander transmits a notice to mariners, a NOTAM broadcast in both Chinese and English, declaring a 40 nautical mile exclusion zone around the Fujian, centered on the strait's midline, citing live fire exercises, and warning all vessels, military and commercial, to alter course. The USS Ronald Reagan CVN-76 does not alter course. The Ronald Reagan is the forward-deployed aircraft carrier of the United States 7th Fleet, home-ported in Yokosuka, Japan. She displaces 104,000 tons at full combat load, 24,000 tons more than the Fujian. She is nuclear-powered by 2 A4W reactors producing over 260,000 shaft horsepower and capable of sustaining 30-plus knots indefinitely. She carries 90 aircraft in her air wing, F/A-18E and F Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers, E-2D Hawkeyes, MH-60R Seahawks, and a detachment of F-35C Lightning IIs that have been operating from her deck since the wing's most recent workup cycle. She is escorted by the Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, USS Chancellorsville, and 4 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, USS Milius, USS Benfold, USS Shiloh, and USS Barry, along with 2 Virginia-class fast attack submarines running silent in the van. Behind the strike group, 4 P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft are orbiting at altitude. Their AN/APY-10 radar systems and acoustic processing suites mapping every acoustic signature in the water beneath the strait. And overhead, 2 E-2D Advanced Hawkeyes are painting the entire operational area in real time. Their AN/APY-9 radars reaching 350 nautical miles in every direction and feeding the fused air picture into every platform in the strike group via the Cooperative Engagement Capability data link. The Ronald Reagan has been monitoring the Fujian's movements for 72 hours. She did not alter course when the planned battle group sortied. She did not alter course when it crossed the median line. She is not altering course now. The 7th Fleet's message to Beijing is simple, institutional, and delivered without rhetoric. The Taiwan Strait is an international waterway, and the United States Navy has been transiting it freely since 1950 and intends to continue doing so. The Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group will complete its scheduled freedom of navigation transit. Any impediment to that transit will be treated as a hostile act. At 02:31 hours, the planned battle group alters its own formation. The 2 Type 055 Renhai cruisers, the Nanchang and the Lhasa, push forward from their screening positions and maneuver to intercept the Reagan's projected track, attempting to physically interpose themselves between the American carrier and the center line. This is the plan's preferred coercive tactic. Not a weapons employment, but a physical obstruction, forcing the American ship to either alter course or risk collision. It has worked before with smaller vessels. It has worked in the South China Sea against Coast Guard cutters and Philippine supply ships. The officers of the Lhasa apparently believe it will work against a nuclear aircraft carrier. They are about to receive an education in the difference between a vessel that will flinch and one that will not. Let's talk about the Type 055 Renhai cruiser, because the plan is enormously proud of it, and Western analysts have spent considerable energy assessing its capabilities. The Nanchang and the Lhasa are indeed capable ships by any reasonable standard. They displace approximately 13,000 tons, carry 112 vertical launch cells, loaded with a mix of HHQ-9B surface-to-air missiles, YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles, CJ-10 land attack cruise missiles, and HHQ-10 close-in defensive missiles. Their Type 346BA ESA radar, the Chinese Sea Eagle, is a credible sensor capable of tracking airborne contacts at ranges the PLAN publishes as competitive with the AN/SPY-1. Their combat management system, the ZKJ-7, integrates sensors and weapons in a manner broadly analogous to Aegis. They are the best surface combatants China has ever built. They are not in the same class as the USS Chancellorsville and the 4 Arleigh Burkes that have just calmly locked their fire control radars onto them from a distance of 8 nautical miles. The Chancellorsville's AN/SPY-1B radar has been tracking both Type 055 cruisers since they sortied from Fujian Naval Base 2 days ago. The fire control solutions are continuously updated. The VLS magazines are fully loaded. The TAO has had engagement authorization criteria pre-briefed by 7th Fleet and validated through the chain of command all the way to the National Command Authority. Nobody on this ship is surprised by anything that is happening. Nobody is reaching for a checklist they haven't read before. At 0247 hours, the Lhasa comes to a course that will intercept the Reagan's track at approximately 4.3 nautical miles. At this range, on a collision course, with 2 nuclear-powered vessels maneuvering in confined waters, this is the crisis point. This is the moment that the Chinese commander apparently believes American naval doctrine will require the Reagan to maneuver away. On the bridge of the Ronald Reagan, the commanding officer, a career naval aviator who has logged more than 4,000 flight hours and has commanded 2 previous warships, makes no maneuvering order. He does, however, authorize a transmission on the International Maritime Safety Frequency, Channel 16, and on the Planned Naval Operations Frequency that American Signals Intelligence has been monitoring for 30 years. The message is brief, professional, and unambiguous. The USS Ronald Reagan is conducting a lawful freedom of navigation transit of the Taiwan Strait in international waters. The planned vessels are directed to clear the track. Any aggressive maneuver within 2 nautical miles will be interpreted as a threat to the safety of the ship and her crew, and will be responded to accordingly. The Lhasa does not clear the track. At 0251 hours, she is 3.1 nautical miles ahead of the Reagan, still on an intercept course. What happens next is not dramatic in the cinematic sense. There's no explosion. No missiles are fired. What happens is a demonstration of the hierarchy of naval power that is so complete, so utterly one-sided, that it requires careful explanation to be properly understood. At 0252 hours, on the direct order of the strike group commander via the Chancellorsville, the USS Milius, DDG-69, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, executes a sprint maneuver, pushing to 32 knots and cutting directly across the Lhasa's bow at a distance of 800 meters. This is not a reckless maneuver. This is a precisely calculated message, executed with the confidence of a crew that knows their ship's exact position, the Lhasa's exact position, their closure rate, their stopping distance, and the Lhasa's maneuvering envelope to a precision that the planned vessel's own crew almost certainly cannot match, because the Milius has been tracking the Lhasa on AN/SPY-1D radar for 51 hours and has a motion model accurate to within 3 meters. The Milius knows exactly where the Lhasa is going before the Lhasa does. The Lhasa maneuvers. She has no choice. An Arleigh Burke cutting across your bow at 32 knots in a 3 nautical mile visibility situation is not an abstract threat. It is a collision that happens in seconds if you do not react. The Lhasa's officer of the deck orders hard right rudder, and the Chinese cruiser swings south, out of the Reagan's track. The Nanchang, watching this from 7 nautical miles north, does not advance to fill the gap. The Ronald Reagan crosses the center line of the Taiwan Strait at 0304 hours, on schedule, on course, at standard transit speed. Her crew does not cheer. Her air wing continues its scheduled cycle of flight operations. 2 FA-18Es are on Alert 5 on the waste catapults, but they were on Alert 5 before this confrontation began, and they will stay there until the transit is complete. It is procedure, not crisis management. But the plan has one more move. At 0318 hours, 18 minutes after the Reagan crosses the center line, the 2 Type 093B nuclear attack submarines that have been trailing the American formation make their move. This is the scenario the Chinese naval doctrine apparently identifies as the decisive lever. While the surface confrontation occupies American attention, the submarine force maneuvers into attack position. The Type 093B Shang-class boat carries the YJ-18 anti-ship missile in a torpedo tube-launched configuration. The weapon ejected from the tube in a capsule that surfaces and ignites a rocket booster before transitioning to cruise missile flight. The YJ-18 has a range of approximately 180 kilometers in its anti-ship variant, a terminal sprint speed of Mach 3 in the final phase, and a 300-kilogram warhead. On paper, against a carrier without warning, it is a significant threat. The problem with this plan, and it is a fatal problem, is that the USS Hawaii and the USS Illinois, Virginia-class fast attack submarines, have been tracking both Type 093B boats since 0043 hours, 151 minutes. The Virginia-class is the apex predator of the modern submarine world. Its AN/B QQ-10 sonar system, combining a spherical array, a wide aperture array, and towed line arrays, can detect, classify, and track a submerged submarine at ranges that the plan's own acoustic intelligence has spectacularly underestimated, in part because China has never had access to the acoustic test data generated by the United States Navy's SOSUS network over 60 years of Cold War operations. The Type 093B is not quiet by the standards of a Virginia-class adversary. It has a tonal signature that American passive sonar databases have cataloged in exhaustive detail, refined through decades of close trailing operations in the Pacific. At 0318 hours, when the first Type 093B attempts to close to YJ-18 launch range, an approach that requires maneuvering to within approximately 100 nautical miles of the carrier, the USS Hawaii is already 1.8 nautical miles off its port quarter, in an ideal firing position, running at drift speed to minimize her own acoustic signature. The Illinois holds a similar position relative to the second boat. The planned submarine commanders do not know they are being shadowed. They have not detected either Virginia. Their sonar teams are listening, but they are listening with equipment that is, at a fundamental engineering level, at least one full generation behind what the Americans are running. And the Americans are not making it easy for them by sitting still. The decision not to fire is a deliberate one. The Ronald Reagan is not at war with China tonight. Tonight is a freedom of navigation operation, a demonstration of rights, a test of resolve. Destroying 2 planned submarines in the Taiwan Strait is not the outcome 7th Fleet requires to achieve its operational objective. What 7th Fleet requires is to complete the transit, and that objective is achieved at 0341 hours, when the Reagan's battle group clears the northern exit of the strait into the Philippine Sea, having maintained course, speed, and formation integrity throughout. What the Chinese Surface Group Commander, the Fujian's Battle Group Commander, and the PLAN's Theater Commander now possess is a precise and uncomfortable answer to a question that Chinese military doctrine has been debating for a decade. What happens when you put your best warships in the path of the United States 7th Fleet and decline to move? The answer is you move, because the Arleigh Burke that executed the bow crossing of the Lhasa did not ask permission and did not hesitate. Because the Ronald Reagan's commanding officer did not reduce speed, did not transmit apologies, did not request guidance from higher authority before making his navigation decisions. Because the 2 Virginia-class submarines holding targeting solutions on the plan's nuclear boats from 1.8 nautical miles could have ended that threat in minutes, and every experienced naval officer in the plan knows it. The Fujian is a real achievement. China built a large conventionally powered carrier with an electromagnetic catapult system, a genuine engineering accomplishment that only the United States had previously achieved. The Type 055 is a serious cruiser. The Type 093B is a capable submarine by regional standards. None of this changes the fundamental calculus. The plan's carrier aviation wing is still developing its doctrine, still training its pilots to the flight hour standards that American carrier aviation requires, still learning how to manage the complex logistics of sustained carrier flight operations at sea. The Fujian's pilots have, by the best available estimates, accumulated roughly 1/4 of the flight hours per year that Reagan's air wing pilots accumulate. Carrier aviation is not a capability you buy. It is a capability you develop over decades of continuous operation, and the United States Navy has been developing it since 1922. The Cooperative Engagement Capability that networked every American platform in the Strait tonight. Carrier, cruiser, destroyers, submarines, maritime patrol aircraft, E-2D Hawkeyes, represents 30 years of investment in what the Navy calls network-centric warfare. Every sensor feeds every shooter. The Chancellorsville knew the Lhasa's exact position. The Milius knew it. The Hawaii knew where the 093B was going before it got there. This is not a technological trick. It is a doctrine, a culture, an institutional commitment to interoperability that has been tested in actual combat operations from the Persian Gulf to the South China Sea to the Eastern Mediterranean. The plan's equivalent network is younger, less tested, and built on a foundation of systems that have not been stressed by the kind of real-world operational pressure that reveals integration failures and software deficiencies. There is something the Chinese battle group commander did that deserves credit. He recognized at 0252 hours that the situation had reached its decision point, and he did not escalate beyond it. The Lhasa maneuvered. The Nanchang held position. The Type 093B boats did not complete their approach to weapons release range. This was the correct decision, and it prevented a confrontation from becoming a conflict. The planned commander read the situation and understood that the American formation was not going to yield, and that pressing the engagement further would produce an outcome that no one in Beijing had authorized. But understanding that tonight was not the night to press the issue is not the same as having the capability to press it successfully. The USS Hawaii was 1.8 nautical miles from the lead Type 093B, with a firing solution already computed. That is not a near thing. That is dominance expressed through restraint, which is the most complete form of dominance there is. At 0349 hours, as the Reagan's battle group completed its exit into the Philippine Sea, a final piece of the night's operational picture came together. the 4 P-8A Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft that had been orbiting at altitude throughout the transit. Their AN/A-PY-10 inverse synthetic aperture radar systems building continuous imagery of every surface and subsurface contact in the strait, transmitted their consolidated acoustic and radar data to Pacific Fleet intelligence in Pearl Harbor. The picture was unambiguous. At no point during the transit had any planned platform achieved a weapons release solution against any American vessel. The Type 09-3B submarines had come closest, reaching a range at which a YJ-18 launch would have been technically feasible. But technically feasible against a target that knows you're there and has already computed your destruction is a different calculus entirely. The Virginia-class boats shadowing them had been prepared to act in under 30 seconds from the moment the first planned submarine flooded a torpedo tube. That moment never came. It was never going to come. The planned submariners were professionals. They knew that if they had been tracked, firing was suicide. And if they had not been tracked, they were not in position. Either way, the math didn't work. They ran silent, and they ran deep, and they returned to port with their weapons unfired and their mission unaccomplished. The Taiwan Strait is 110 miles wide and has been an international waterway since before the People's Republic of China existed. The United States Navy has transited it freely and will continue to transit it freely. The Fujian is an impressive ship. She is not impressive enough. The Ronald Reagan crossed the centerline at 03:04 hours and exited the northern end of the strait 37 minutes later, with her course unchanged, her speed unchanged, her crew at routine watch conditions, and her air wing ready on the catapults for anything the plan wanted to try next. They tried nothing. They turned south and went home. When the most powerful navy China has ever assembled cannot hold a 110-mile channel against a single American carrier strike group, cannot even force an altitude change in the Reagan's helicopter operations, let alone stop the transit. The strategic message writes itself. The Pacific is not a Chinese lake. It never was. And the 7th Fleet intends to keep it that way. One freedom of navigation transit at a time, for as long as it takes. Bye for now.